of Cincinnati, welcome to the jungle!
Right?
Yeah.
Let's go, baby! We're going to college football playoff! Woo! Let's go, Bearcats! Woo!
Stripes, stripes, yeah. Stripes, stripes, stripes. Orange in the day, black in the night. Stripes in our veins, sparks gonna fly. The beast is awake, orange, black and white. Cause when the jungle come alive, who day we ignite and stripes. Cincinnati, we gon' rise and stripes. In the jungle, we unite and stripes. Dripping orange and black and white. Who day when we fight, live and die in these stripes. Wake up the beast, every day is a feast. Time to bust it off the leash. In the jungle, dripping heat. Tigers stripe the city streets. East side, stand up. West side, stand up. If you reppin', who day? Time to put your hands up. Bingo stripes, we in it. New day, new age, yeah, we get it. Cincinnati jungle fitted. Who day in our house, we win it. Orange and black and white, we build it. Earn our stripes, you know we kill it. Bleed our colors, jungle dripping. Nasty, natty, yeah, we lit it. Lit the crowd, get the city loud. Yeah, we feasting now. Fit the bounce, make the city howl. Now we beastin' now. Thunder through the tunnel, from the sideline to the huddle. Stripes we tatted on the jungle when we flex that who they muscle on them. Stripes, Cincinnati, we gon' rise and in the jungle we unite and dripping orange and black and white. All day when we fight, live and die in these stripes. Stripes. Now who gotta move like it on? Stripes. Now who wanna move dancing on? Stripes. Now who wanna move on? If you got stripes, then you let the city know you rock 'em. Yeah, we got 'em. Yeah, we fought 'em. Like that black and orange upon 'em. Bingo bottle, never stop it. Till the beast on feast and know who they rockin' with the diamond stripes. Flossin' on the ring. Cincinnati, she's our queen. We gon' show the world who king. Orange in the day, black in the night. Stripes in our veins, sparks gonna fly. The beast is awake, orange, black and white. Cause when the jungle come alive, who day we ignite and Cincinnati, we gon' rise and in the jungle we unite and dripping orange and black and white. Who day when we fight, live and die in these stripes. Now who gotta move like it on? Now who wanna move dancing on? Now who wanna move on? Who day when we fight, live and die in these stripes.
Hey guys, what's going on? Welcome to the show. This is Sports with Strawberry Ice. I'm your host, the Iceman, Jeff Trenopole, and as always, I'm bringing you sports from a West Side point of view right here in the great city of Cincinnati, Ohio, home of the number 4 team, and we're going to the college football playoffs. University of Cincinnati Bearcats. I am very, very excited about this. Now, do me a favor, if you found the show, hit that like and subscribe button. Smash that thumbs up. I'm up to 1,416 subscribers. That is awesome. As always, I appreciate every single one of you guys. If you're watching on Facebook or Twitter and you have yet to subscribe to my channel, please do so. Go to the YouTube channel, Sports with Strawberry Ice. Hit the bell for the subscription, hit the button for the notifications, and every time I go live, you'll be notified. Also, we're doing super chats exclusively in the YouTube chat crew. So if you want to support what I'm doing or make sure your question gets read, because we have Jim Kelly on today, the Bearcats radio broadcaster, give me a super chat. I would greatly appreciate it. Now I'm coming to you live from the Ice Cave, and the Ice Cave is brought to you by T Properties. T Properties, quality housing for quality people. Check out their website at www.tpropertiesllc.com for all your rental property management needs and your rental needs. All right, guys, like I said, I have a very special guest today. He's former Bearcat, former player. He's a radio broadcaster. He's Jim Kelly. He's a great guy, and I love it that he gives me time to come on my show. So let's get to it. Here's Jim. Jim, what's going on, man?
Hey, Jeff. How are you? Thanks for having me.
Hey, thanks for coming on. I really appreciate you giving me the time to do this, and this is a very, very exciting time to be a Bearcat fan. It's unbelievable. I like I told you before in the past, I've been going to Bearcat games since Tim Murphy was the coach, and nobody went. I had never in my wildest dreams ever thought that we'd be 2 wins away from a national championship. One win away from playing for it. Now, it's a big get. Let's be honest. Alabama is no joke.
Yep.
But hey, last year everybody said we couldn't hang with Georgia. We did.
That's correct. And I think going into the Georgia game last year, everybody kind of looked at them the same way people are looking at Alabama right now. And that is that, wow, how are we going to hang with these guys? And you found out very quickly that you could. That being said, all four of these teams that made it to the college football playoffs, the semifinal games, the two semifinal games that we played on New Year's Eve, are really good football teams. And the Bearcats are going to have to play their best, certainly, to take on the number one seeded Crimson Tide for sure.
Exactly. Now, everybody that's in the chat crew, if you guys got any questions for Jim about his playing days, radio broadcasting days this year, just put them in the chat and I'll put them up for him. So, just speaking of that, Jim, with you being a Bearcat through and through, you played for the team, you've been a radio broadcaster for him. I think you said since, was it 89? Is that when you started again?
Yeah. So 88 was my first year. The coach at that time was a guy by the name of Dave Curry. They were not very good that year. That was Dave Curry's last year. You had mentioned just briefly, Jeff, Tim Murphy.
Yes.
And Tim Murphy took over in 1989. And I was there for 2 years with Tim before I took a small break in 92, 93, 94. And that was for a couple years of Tim Murphy, last 2 years of Tim Murphy, and then 1 year of Rick Minner that I didn't do it. And then from 95 on, when in Minner's second year, I've been there through Rick Minner, through Mark D'Antonio, through Brian Kelly, through Butch Jones, through Tommy Tuberville, and now Luke Fickell. So, and I played for two coaches when I played 72 through 75. My freshman year was a guy by the name of Ray Callahan. And then Tony Mason took over, and I was with Tony. And then I stayed on and coached a year as well in 1976 for Tony Mason. So seen a lot of coaches. And interesting you bring up the Tim Murphy thing. Mike Bass, who used to write for the Enquirer, had a piece in the Enquirer today. I don't know who he's writing for now. It was noted in there. But he went back to and actually just spoke to Tim Murphy previously and talked about the evolution of this program, or at least since the early 90s when Murph was there, and how rough it was for Tim Murphy when he inherited the program from Dave Curry. With at that time there was probation, and I think he had, I'm going to say that the article this morning said 49 scholarship players.
Wow.
In those last couple of years. And with that went two games that I called, three games I'll name. One was in Topsit by far, the 81-0 loss at Penn State in 1991. Mm-hmm. There was a game at West Virginia that, the scores, it doesn't matter. It was like 53-3.
Right.
And then we did one at the Orange Bowl as well that was like 56-3 against the Hurricanes. And then Tim Murphy in 1993 ended up going 8-3 and brought the program, kind of turned the corner, so to speak. And then he moved on to Harvard, where he's still, believe it or not, he's still the head football coach.
Right.
And from there was ups and downs, but more ups than downs. And we've talked about Rick Minner before and the good years that he had and the not so good years that he had. And of course, Mark D'Antonio, Brian Kelly, who's been in the news here recently as well. So anyway, it's been a long journey. It's been a fun journey for the most part, not all great, but hey, right now, all of that stuff, those 81-0 losses don't seem like anything right now as you're getting ready to go into the college football playoffs.
It's unbelievable. Like I said, I always, and this is one thing I've tried to tell everybody, because when we had the Brian Kelly years and went to the Sugar Bowl and Orange Bowl, I was ecstatic. I'm like, this is unbelievable. And I feel that I myself personally did not enjoy it as much as I should, because it was gone, in 2 years that Kelly left, and we never got to that again. And I told myself, I'm going to enjoy this year. I'm going to remember this year. And it win, lose, whatever, this has been the greatest season for Bearcat football ever. Desmond Ridder is the third winningest coach in college football history. I think if he wins the next 2 games, I think he's going to be tied for second with Colt McCoy, and he would actually go above him as far as winning percentage goes to be the second winningest quarterback in college football history. That's unbelievable, Jim. I mean, I never, in my wildest dreams, never thought a Bearcat would be that high in history of college football. That's history. I mean, we're talking, over 100 years.
Yeah, no, there's a lot of things that are unbelievable about this year, and I think you made a very good point. Is you're just going to enjoy it, and as this year went on, and the Bearcats wove their way through this schedule, and all the stuff about style points and this and that, and I just kind of had to keep telling myself, just enjoy this.
Right.
You've got a target on your back. You're going to get everybody's best game. And the fact of the matter is they go 13-0 after winning the conference championship game against Houston. It's quite a remarkable feat. And then, Jeff, to bring your point into it, what Desmond Ritter's been able to do is absolutely unbelievable. He's, the 40-some games, and you're right, I think he could tie for second if he wins 2 more.
Right.
But regardless, if he doesn't,
he's still third.
the record's unbelievable. What he has not lost a game at Nippert Stadium, and he started for 4 years.
Right. He's undefeated for 4 years. We haven't lost a game in 4 years.
Yeah,
that's where I keep telling people, I'm like, I don't care what conference you're in. If you go back-to-back years undefeated in the regular season, you go 4 years at home without losing a game, you're pretty freaking good. I don't care what anybody says. I don't care what conference you're in. That's hard to do.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, so Clemson is leading the country right now, and they've got 5 years in a row, to give them credit where credit's due. Right. And they had a little bit of a rough year, but they lost their games on the road. I think they finished 9-3, if I remember right.
Right.
But that being said, what this team has accomplished with all the pressure on them, and to be able to perform the way they did week after week after week, and to win these games in some places, particularly on the road, that were very, very – other teams really don't fare well there. Indiana ended up being down a little bit, but nobody wins at Notre Dame.
Right.
I'm telling you, East Carolina is a horrible place to have to try to win a football game. Not to mention, even places like South Florida, those teams are so much better on their home turf. So what these guys did is absolutely remarkable. And I'm not putting anything past them. Yes, Alabama is very, very good in all phases. But if you break it down and you look at what they did during the season, they had times when people moved the ball on them. They also had times when people stopped them. Now, if you go back and look at the Georgia game that just took place, half a week ago, or I guess almost a full week ago now, they just destroyed a very good Georgia team. So that just tells you on the other end how good they are. But, nobody's giving Cincinnati, a puncher's chance right now. Everybody is, they're going to get beat by 20. They're going to get beat by 12 and even, or 15. And even the lines, I think, gone up to 13.5, something like that. And not that I pay attention to that, but that just tells you the way the perception is. And the one thing we left out in all these accomplishments is that in a system that doesn't really favor the group of 5 teams, the smaller leagues, they were able to not only get up to that glass ceiling, they were able to break that glass ceiling and break into these playoffs. And what that does is just opens it for people down the road. Hopefully the Bearcats again. But, I look at what UCF did, 6-7 years ago when they did it. They didn't get anywhere near this close, but they got things started. What the Bearcats were able to do today, not today, but this year, was break that ceiling. And, they're moving on to the Big 12, and hopefully, the Power 5 stays intact and they get automatic bids, even if it stays at 4 teams. But what they were able to do really, really helped college football this year, I believe.
Exactly. All right, let's get to some of the questions here. Crip Keeper says, Jim, Rick Minter's coaching staff, wow, the names are crazy good coaches. Do you have any stories of the coaching staff from Rick Minter?
Well, yeah, I was there for all but one of those years, and his staff was unbelievable. I don't know if you guys watched the NFL this weekend, but Rex Ryan, who sits in one of the panels
Right.
in the pregame show and halftime shows and things like that. Somehow the college football playoffs came, and he goes, "Yeah, my Bearcats are in." So it was great. I mean, it was absolutely great. So yeah, I mean, if you look at the names. John Harbaugh was here almost 10 years under Tim Murphy and Rick Minner. Went on to Philadelphia, where he became the special teams coordinator, and of course, then went on to become the head coach for the Baltimore Ravens. Mike Tomlin was here for a couple of years, who's now the Pittsburgh Steelers head coach. So how about this? Gino Guidugli had 4 offensive coordinators when he played quarterback here.
Right.
Two of those guys. Well, one of the Dave Baldwin. I don't know where Dave is now, but Jimbo Fisher was one of those guys. Sam Pittman, who's the head coach at Arkansas now, was also on that staff that year. It just goes on and on and on of guys that are spread out throughout college football, guys that are in the NFL right now. What a coaching tree Rick Minner had here, and what an eye for talent he had. Unfortunately, what he didn't have was a huge budget, and that's why we couldn't keep any of them. Yep, that's why those guys would move on.
Right,
but there's a couple of those guys along the way that actually were Cincinnati, left for bigger pastures, greener pastures, so to speak, and ended up coming back. They liked it here. They liked the city of Cincinnati. All the things that you talk about in your podcast, and you being a West Sider, the way Cincinnati comes together for their sports teams, that brought guys back. And that's a heck of a question, and I apologize for the big names I'm leaving out, because there's a lot of them.
Right?
A lot of them. There really is. But yeah, I mean, if you go to that Baltimore staff, defensive coordinator was here. Wink Martindale. He, it's endless the number of people.
It's ridiculous how many we had
college football staffs. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, I remember me and my dad talking about that. Like, man, why can't we keep any of these guys? Every year we're losing coaches, and I'm like, well, I said, like you just said, they didn't have the budget to pay him at that time, but it was ridiculous. And I mean, we haven't even talked about Zach Taylor. I mean, I know he wasn't a Rick Minner's staff. Zach Taylor was the OC Tommy Tuberville's last year here, and he wanted to come back here.
How about that story? He recruited Desmond Ritter.
Yep, exactly.
So, you talk about a small world, or as my son likes to say, that's so blank in Cincinnati.
Exactly.
It's a small. I mean, everybody knows somebody, and the fact that Zach Taylor was here 1 year as the offensive coordinator, they needed a quarterback. He drove down at 5:30 we got there at 5:30 on a Thursday morning, I believe, worked out Des Ritter. They ended up offering him. Of course, the staff got let go shortly after that. To Luke Fickell, to his credit, he honored the scholarship, and they went back and they re-recruited him, and they got Des to come here. And then, of course, he goes to the Rose Bowl and comes in the third series and hasn't come out yet, other than a few injuries along the way.
Yeah, I'll never forget that Rose Bowl. I'm thinking, I'm like, oh man, I was like, I don't know if we won this or not. And then Desmond came in, and I'm like, ooh, me and my dad were watching. I said, I think we got ourselves a quarterback. Like, I like this kid. I like that's pretty good. But I'll never that UCLA game started all of this for Luke Fickell and Desmond. All that game started this run, started the direction that the program is going in. And I will never forget that game, because I mean, we went to the Rose Bowl and won, and nobody does that, especially a team from the Midwest. I mean, because it was a late kick for us, and it was a late game, and Des came in and took that game over, like you said, and has never looked back. Now, I will get to this question here. Roy asked me this yesterday, and I don't know it. He said, he's asking, Tony Mason got UC in the top 25 his last year, didn't he? I don't know. Do you know that?
I do know the answer to that, and it is yes. So the story there, that was the year that I coached. We went 9-2. We had opened the season at Tulane, beat Tulane. We went down week 3, I believe, to Southwest Louisiana, which is now Louisiana Lafayette. And we actually lost the game there 10-7. We got hit with a aiding the runner call. Now you're probably going, what in the world is that?
Right.
Well, it's what you see every day, both in college and pro football now. And that is where the running back or the quarterback goes into the line of scrimmage and offensive linemen or running backs push in behind them and push them into the end zone, hopefully. Well, that was illegal back then. So we scored a touchdown to win the game. It was called back. We ended up kicking a field goal, and we lost that game. However, Southwest Louisiana, or with Louisiana Lafayette, had 6 or 7 ineligible players playing that game, and they ended up having to forfeit their entire season. We won it. There wasn't many bowl games back then, but at 9-2, we were offered it was the first or second year of the Independence Bowl in Shreveport, Louisiana. And Coach Mason, the belief was that we were going to get an offer to go to the Sun Bowl in El Paso. And he did not want to go back to Louisiana after being at Tulane and what happened at Southwest Louisiana and Lafayette.
Right.
So we waited and waited and waited for the Sun Bowl opportunity, and it never came. So went 9-2. I think we got up to 22nd to answer the questions. The
so what year was this?
That was 1976.
Okay.
Yep.
Cool.
And the 2 losses, you're not going to believe this, the 2 losses were at Georgia in Sanford Stadium and at Maryland. In the Georgia game was 31-24. We were driving and had ball picked off in that end of the game. So we had a chance there. 9-2 in 1976, lost to Georgia, lost to Maryland, both on the road.
Oh, wow. All right, let's get to see. Royal Flush Cherry says, if Cincinnati gets blown out by some miracle, are they eliminated from the college football playoffs next season as well? No, not that I know of.
No, I mean, I get where that question's coming from. You have to think that the Georgia game last year helped them this year, at least recognition-wise. I want to say that it got them into the playoffs. It certainly didn't.
Right.
But the fact that had they got blown out by Georgia last year, let's just say it was, 31-7 or something like that.
Right.
I don't think they would have had the preseason rankings that they got this year.
Right.
And secondly, down the stretch, as they were, as other teams were starting to fall and they were getting elevated as they continued to win, I think it helped them. I don't think it would hurt them. Go back and look at since the history of this college football playoff. Look what happens. Look what's happened and what's been the history in the 1 versus 4 games. I think I saw the other day that the margin of victories over 15 points. So there's been a lot of, I won't call them blowouts, but games that really weren't in, it wasn't in question who was going to win the games.
Right.
It was all the number 1 seeds, which is, where the Bearcats are this year.
Yeah.
Hopefully they put that to rest and they're able to make this a close game and obviously able to win this football game. That would be great. And I think a whole lot of it's mental. But if you look at, what Notre Dame did a couple of times against, and I think even Ohio State against Alabama the one time, the 4s haven't done well against the 1s. Let's put it that way.
Well, this is one thing that gives me hope, confidence that we're going to play good, is that this team's whole reason for this year is this game. Desmond came back, Sauce came back, Kobe came back. All these guys came back to enjoy this, to put UC on the map. And the thing is, I look at it this way, Jim. They got nothing to lose. If they go there and get blown out, so what? Like you just said, Ohio State's gotten blown out. Clemson's gotten blown out. There's so many teams that, are in the power conferences have gotten blown out. Okay, UC gets there and gets blown out. Okay, and what's going to irritate me, though, is people go, if that does happen, they get blown out. People go, see, they didn't deserve to be there. I go like, no. You can't say that when Ohio State, Clemson, Notre Dame, all these other teams do the exact same thing. So I don't want to hear that argument that, well, you guys didn't deserve it. That's bull crap. That's not true because it happens to the quote unquote Power 5 teams.
Yep, absolutely. I think Washington made it once and got blown out, just got blown to smithereens. And, and those are power conferences. Everybody you name there, with the exception of Notre Dame, because they're independent, is in a power conference. And you'd have to put Notre Dame at the level of a power conference,
right?
Even though they're an independent. So, yeah, I mean, people are going to say that, and it doesn't matter. and the only thing that, that is going to make people not say it is Cincinnati hanging in there and winning the game or staying close. And, that's what we want. And, the way this team's playing right now, if they get to the end of the game and it's close, they've got a really, really good shot.
As long as it doesn't come down to field goal kicking.
Well, that's a problem. You're right.
Yeah, that's the one thing that scares me. If we
that's a serious issue.
Yeah,
I think everybody's read. They knew that it's a problem. They've gone out and they've got himself a kicker for next year, but it won't happen. It won't help them this year. That's for sure. So, but the guys, all three of the guys that they've used this year have good legs. Mm-hmm. Anybody that's been around kickers, and this is not meant to be a joke and or not to be hurtful to anybody that's a kicker out there.
Right.
It can be a mental thing to these guys. It's like getting the yips in baseball, or whatever. You just can't get it out of your head, and you're picturing yourself missing it to the left, and you do.
Right.
So they're all capable guys, and there's time, and they're going to have to go with one of the three guys that they've used this year. And, hopefully if it comes down to a kick, they make it. But you're right. The one thing that you can say about this team, and there's very little you can say negative about them, is that their place kicking, has not been good.
Right. Now, one thing I'll say, we're talking about a little bit about this off air, is I think this team has got to play they haven't played a complete game, I don't think, all year yet. All four quarters. Desmond Ridder, in my opinion, has got to get off to a quick start. This team, we've talked about this, like the Tulsa game. I think you said this on the air that, we won the first and the third quarter, and the second and fourth, we didn't do anything. And it's like we came out of halftime there and scored on like it was nothing. We did that against Houston. I'm like, so there's sometimes I'm like, where is that team? And to me, that team that came out at halftime in the Houston game, we need that team all four quarters this game, and that is a key to playing with Alabama. We can't have any lulls in this game on New Year's Day.
I would agree with you all the way. About the closest they came to an entire game would have been SMU. Mm-hmm. And there were still some times in there where, they had some 3 and outs and didn't move the ball the way they did the rest of the game. But and it's not been, you mentioned the Tulsa. It wasn't always quarter 1, quarter 3. But you know what? Against Miami, it was quarter 1 and quarter 3. They were stuck in the mud in quarters 2 and 4. Mm-hmm. Now, in quarter 4, they were already up by 40-some points, so I get that. But no, you're absolutely right, Jeff. There's been inconsistencies, and I wish if I could sit here and tell you why that was happening, there's a whole lot of people smarter than me that would figure out how to not make it happen.
Right.
Part of it is the other teams. They have good coaches too.
Right.
They have scholarship players. They make adjustments during the game. At the same time, you look at the Houston game. Those first 5 minutes of the third quarter, it was unbelievable. I mean, and part of that is adjustments that they made. But if you go back and you look particularly at the third touchdown in the third quarter, which was Jerome Ford's 42-yard run, he made a really nice cut to get him to the outside, to the edge, to take that in the distance. But the blocking was absolutely incredible.
Yes.
Lenny Taylor came in with a cleanup block he put a hole that, look at us. You and I could have got through the hole. We would have scored like Jerome Ford, but we would have got through that hole.
Right.
So there are some things that you wish that, they'd be more consistent at, but at the same time, they've given up very few long plays. The one against Houston, that guy's caught 78, 80 passes this year.
Right.
He's a good football player. So people are going to make plays on you. On the offense, that's where I think you'd like to see a little bit more, you'd like to see some more consistency. The one thing is, though, they are what they are. They're going to run the football. They're going to throw the football, but they're not going to be an all-passing team or an all-running team. Desmond Ridder, didn't get into the Final Four for the Heisman, but this is a team that didn't throw that much.
Right.
His numbers, his percentage of completions was very, very strong. His touchdown to interception ratio, very strong. But when they were playing SMU, the quarterback there, he had thrown 120 more passes than Desmond Ridder over 9 games.
Right.
So you're going to have higher stats. And I don't want to say it's a stats game, because you could make the argument the kid from Michigan, the defensive end, who's going to be in the Heisman, finalist, he doesn't have any passing stats. But that being said, they are what they are offensively. They stayed with it. And Luke Fickell said it. If he said it once, he said it, 24 times. We are what we are, and we're going to stay with what we do best, and that's what they do.
Exactly. And one thing I'll say too, when you're playing conference games, Luke Fickell's been there. This is his 5th year. These coaches know what the Bearcats want to do. They know that they're going to know what the Bearcats want to do better than, well, I won't say better than Alabama, because we got, Nick Saban's got a month to do a film study on the Bearcats. But these guys have played the Bearcats for 5 years, and Luke Fickell, so they know their tendencies. They know what they want to do. There's not a whole lot the Bearcats are going to do to surprise them, except for which one of the greatest calls you ever had, the chili special. That was awesome. I love that call. I give you props for that one. Other than that play, there isn't a whole lot of stuff they're going to do that's going to surprise these guys.
Yeah, that was a little of a surprise. And how the chili special came out of my mouth, I don't know.
That was awesome.
Dan said the Philly special. I'm just thinking, I know Mo Egger, who sits behind us, has this big deal with Skyline, and it's like, heck, let's call it the chili special.
Right. Yeah, it was great. Whatever. I loved it.
It's great. Yeah. Still waiting for my free Skyline, but that's okay.
Well, now you're on the Strawberry Ice Show, so they're
there you go.
They're gonna definitely hook you up. All right. Speaking of food, Crypt Keeper here says, Jim, is the food at Higher Ground really good, like all the players talk about?
It really is. I don't eat there more than a couple of times a summer, maybe 2-3 times. But I'm telling you what, it is excellent. It's all home cooked, every bit of it. The staff out there does it. They love doing it for the players. The players love the staff. I mean, it is truly a love affair being out there. I don't think they like being there. They'd rather be, on campus where or in Clifton where they can, get out for a night. And, I don't want to say whatever, you know what I mean? They do in Clifton, but
right. That's fun.
Honestly, I have to say, last year with COVID, it was pretty much something they had to do to keep everybody away and keep them, kind of keep the bubble, so to speak, like the NBA did.
Right.
This year, they didn't have to, but I think what it did, it made them even closer. And everything that we talked about on them being a team and what they wanted to accomplish in their goals this year, they were able to do, and certainly being out there for 20 days got things started for them. And to reiterate the question, the food is absolutely excellent. There's plenty of it. It's home cooked. It's a variety of stuff. It's never like, oh, we had this for dinner, now they're changing it. This is what we're having for breakfast, the leftovers. Good stuff. Good stuff.
You're making me hungry. I'm a fat guy. That's not good. All right. Another question from Crip here. He says, Jim, do you see Nippert Stadium expanding in the next 10 years for the Big Ten Conference?
Yeah. So back in 2016, when all of the first round of the Big 12 came in.
When everybody left us?
When we got left at the altar. Exactly. Yeah. There was a plan, and I don't know that it got to the stage of literally, drawings, architectural drawings and things like that, to expand it to 50,000.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So I don't believe there's any plans right now. And I would say to those that say it needs to expand, if you were in the stadium this year for any of the 7 home games,
awesome, you
realize how hard of a place that place is to win. That's why they're 26-0 over the last 4 years. They're 27-0, I think it is now. Now, adding 10,000 more, would that be great? Yeah, it doesn't take anything away from that. But I don't know that it's going to happen right away. That is a gem.
I love that. I love that gem. I've said this. It is one of the best atmospheres in college football around. And the best thing is I've said this a couple times on my show. I think I might have said it last time you were on the show. Most college football stadiums are not in the middle of campus. Right. This one is the gem. It's right in the middle of campus. It's in the hole. I mean, like my dad told me it's there because that was a natural hole when they first started playing football at UC over 100 years ago. So that's the way it is. And I mean, you can tell if you walk down the stairs, you know where they dug it down one time, where the stairs go like this and then straight
two
down.
times.
2 times.
Yeah.
Okay. So I love Nippert. I don't ever want them to have an off-campus arena. We had it when they were refurbishing Nippert, and we went to Paul Brown, and it's just not the same. Nippert to me is, they can have the world's largest cocktail party or wherever they have down at SEC and all those big stadiums. Theirs isn't in the middle of campus in a hole, and it's just awesome.
Yeah, I agree with you. It's a weapon, and to hear that crowd on Saturday night, I mean, that's the loudest I've ever heard. Even the Bounce House, which is UCF's place,
right.
It's really loud. And prior to this Houston game, well, I put the SMU game in there as well, but that UCF game at Nippert 2 years ago was really, really loud too. But this week, even beyond that, and what they were able to do, and there was a chant at the beginning that I didn't care for that the students were doing. Now, that being said, the Houston players were starting it.
Right.
But that being said, it was that place is special. And Jeff, you're so right. It's right in the middle of campus. It's a hole. You mentioned if you walk down the steps all the way, you'll see there's all kinds of different size steps, and that is the 2 stages of where they had it. It was a big, huge field at first, and they went down a little bit deeper, then a little bit deeper to add them. And so if you've never been to Michigan, it's kind of similar.
Yeah, I've heard.
You get to the outside of Michigan Stadium, it doesn't look very high. Well, that's because it's all down into the ground.
Right.
And it's the fact that it is in the heart of campus. You can come from any direction and get to the stadium. It's a special place. It really is. And I'm asked all the time. I've been to like 93, 94 college venues, and what's your favorite? And without a doubt, it's Nippert Stadium. So,
absolutely, and especially at Nip at night. I get goosebumps talking about it. I can't. People ask me like, why do you like Nip at night so much? I can't really put it into words. It's just awesome. There's nothing else to say. It's just the atmosphere. It's at nighttime. It's just
it's everything. The noise, and I have to even say, like, the band what they've been doing. I mean, it's their 100th year, and when they come down the steps and do all that, I mean,
I get goosebumps when they run. Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say it's very special. The whole thing is everything about it.
Yeah, when they start at the top of the stairs and the horns hit, I'm like, let's go! And they start running down the stairs. Oh my! I just get goosebumps watching, and that fires me up so much for the band. And like Sean here says, he said, having been a member of the UC drumline, there's absolutely nothing like being on the field at the stadium. One thing I gotta give Sean credit, and all the members of the band. And I know we've had members fall before, but for them to go down the stairs, and we've talked about how the stairs go down deeper and they don't fall most of the time, I got to give them props for that, because that's hard right there, doing that along with playing an instrument.
Yeah, absolutely, Sean. And I'm glad that thrilled you, because you guys bring it. But you're right. I've seen people fall. And I noticed, and maybe Sean can answer this question, I noticed this week that there were several spots in the band section where some people stayed in the stands, band members playing. And I'm thinking that maybe it was like, I don't feel comfortable running down these steps. And not that it's a problem. I wouldn't want to fall there either.
No, absolutely not. And let's just talk about the atmosphere. Like, so we talk about the atmosphere at Nippert. Let's talk about the atmosphere at the end of the game. For Houston, the crowd is rushing the field. Everybody's going. I mean, I'm literally going nuts here before I did my victory lap. I'm tearing up. I'm like, this is the greatest win so far in Bearcat history. We broke the ceiling. A Group of 5 school is going to the college football playoffs. What was that like? I mean, for you, for Chip, for you, for going to the school, for being a former player, a former coach, the radio broadcaster. What was that like for you? What was that moment like for you?
So let's frame it this way. It was extremely emotional. Because it was like everything that everybody has worked so hard for going back to, when I played. So even beyond that, but that I can remember, it was for the guys that I played with and all the other players along with it. It was for, my dad who coached there and went to school there and played there. My mom who saw a game there 76 years in a row.
Wow.
At least one, even during the pandemic year, who passed away in July. I couldn't stop crying.
Yeah.
And when I say crying, I mean, I was tearing up, and I have the pleasure, and I do mean pleasure, of sitting next to Dan Horde. And when he has time, this wasn't a pick six that won the game and was a walk-off. He has time to put his thoughts together and have his thoughts come out in words. And the way that he ended the game, I couldn't keep it together. I just went nuts, and I think my words were like, "That's it, it's over." And I mean, goosebumps, tears, you name it. For the hundreds and hundreds of football players, that went 2-9, 9-2. Even the guys back in 2009 that went 12-0 and went to the Sugar Bowl. This was special to every one of us, not to mention the fans, guys like Sean and the band. I mean, those guys had been there. It was so special. And it keeps going. And I'll never forget this year. And, you brought it up, Jeff, 2009, you go to the Sugar Bowl. I don't know. And I think if you were being honest, you'd probably say no. Did you ever think you'd see a situation or you would be back in a similar situation? You're a young man, so I was going to say in your lifetime.
Yeah. I mean, the thing is, it's similar. It's even better than the Sugar Bowl. So no, I mean, that's where I've said here that like I said, to enjoy the moment in the Sugar Bowl and Orange Bowl, I didn't enjoy it as much because I don't know. I just thought, okay, we're at this level. It's going to happen. It's something that can happen again. And once Kelly left, and nothing against Butch Jones or the guys who followed him, we never got to that ceiling again. So once we did this year, I'm like, I am enjoying this. And the cool thing, get back to Saturday night for me, the cool thing about it was my dad was down here watching with me. And the reason I'm a Bearcat fan, the reason I went to the school there is because my father, he went there. And for me and him to sit there and watch that game and to just enjoy what they did is unbelievable. I mean, it's something I never thought I'd ever see in my lifetime. So yeah, I'm getting emotional talking about it right now.
Well, the scene down there. So from the press box, the really cool thing was watching the stadium empty to the field. It literally looked like, best way I could describe it, an hourglass where you're watching the sand go from the top to the bottom. You could literally watch the crowd went like this.
Yeah.
And then they were all on the field. And because of the American Athletic Conference ceremony to the winner, normally I go to the locker room and I take a recorder with me and I record Coach Fickle's post-game comments. Well, in this case, we did it live. So normally I have trouble getting down the steps because there's a lot of people there that want to talk to the players who line up around the wall. In this case, everybody was on the field.
Right.
So I got to the field easily, but getting from the field to where the ceremony was, you're fighting through people. And fortunately, both a Hamilton County police officer or sheriff and one of the UC cops saw me coming, and they kind of cleared a path for me to get in there. And I got inside the barricade. It was great, but then I ran into people down there that I knew, and everybody wanted to take. I was done since I was live. It was cool,
right.
And they were all hugging me, and everybody was crying, and it's like this is the wildest scene I've ever seen. So
it was unbelievable.
It's etched in my mind, and all good, good.
Exactly. And like I said, after all that was done, I had to go do a victory lap. So hopefully that's not my last victory lap here running around my neighborhood.
I hope not either.
but yeah, it's just unbelievable that where the Bearcats, where this program has come from, where they are now, what they have a chance to accomplish. And like I said, I never, in my wildest dreams, never thought this would happen. I always thought we'd have I know we can win a national championship in basketball, because we've done it. So you knew that was a possibility. Football, we never thought it was ever going to happen, and we're 2 wins away from it, Jim. And I'm very excited. Now I see you got the the helmets behind you. You got
Yes.
the red one there. So is that a game worn one, or is that just one you
It
were
is.
able to
It
get?
is from this game, from the
Awesome.
championship game. Yeah. Yeah.
Awesome.
Yep. It's the matte finish with the red seat. Obviously red helmet and the seatball. Yep.
That is awesome. Now I know we were talking off air. And
I don't know if it's been worn or not, but it doesn't matter.
either way, you got one. I don't care. I mean, I
Yeah.
love all your football helmets. That's one thing I'd love to have down here in the ice cave. I don't have any UC football helmets. I need to get me some. But
Yeah. So they're I obviously I have an inside track to get some of them, but they're not easy to get, and particularly the older ones are really harder to find. And I've got I think 9 or 10 of them now, and trying to collect as much stuff, just like you've got there in your room, Jeff. Trying to collect as much as I've got. I've got tons and tons of press credentials on the wall there, and other pictures and things of that nature. And the one thing that hang on one second, I'll get this.
Good. This is if he gets one of his helmets, that's really cool. He had some really cool helmets last time he was on the show.
One thing I'm really looking to get another one of is
yes,
my rings. I got like 12 of these. Yeah, here's last year's.
Nice.
So, yeah, they're nice. I mean, nice to have them. So
absolutely.
Hopefully we'll definitely get another one. Hopefully it's a championship ring.
Oh my good. Oh, dude, I will lose my ever loving mind if that happens. I'll like, oh my goodness. All right, let's see here. Sean's got let's see your comment here, and the Pantheon. I'll get it right. The greatest coaches at UC. Will Luke Fickell take the #1 spot after this season?
Yeah, that's you're going to get an argument only from the guys older than me that it might be Sid Gilman, who was an innovator way back. But Sean, I don't think there's any question. I really don't. I think, and hopefully this keeps going. And, I know I read something today from, it was in real, in some sort of, I don't know, the Columbus Dispatch out of Columbus. And they're saying is, Cincinnati's real, but the minute Luke Fickell leaves, they'll go back to a very average team. And, so I
don't necessarily believe that, to be honest.
Well, I don't either. And that's one of the things that Coach Fickell says, we are a top 5 team, but or a top 10 team, he said. Mm-hmm. We want to be a top 10 program. And that's where the continuity of the coaching staff comes in. But to answer that question, I would say without a doubt right now, he would be the guy. And it's not like he's been here, 2 years and had one big winning year. He's been here 5 years. Obviously, he's committed for another year. So we're going to have a 6th season with Luke Fickell, unless for whatever reason Ryan Day opts to go to the NFL.
Yeah, that's the one I'm worried about.
Yeah, I'm not worried about it right now either. So that being said, I would say without question that Luke Fickell would be the #1 coach. Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, because he, like I already said, this is a bigger deal than what Brian Kelly did for us. I mean, we went to the Orange Bowl and the Sugar Bowl. We would just won the Orange Bowl and Sugar Bowl. He's already made history as being the first group of 5 school to be in the college football playoffs, having a chance to play for the national championship. Right there is an accomplishment in itself. And if for some crazy reason we actually beat Alabama, which, like I said, I'm not going to put it past us. I think we have a shot.
I agree.
It's you can't. I mean, they should put a statue. I mean, I'm sorry. That's Luke Fickell. If he accomplishes we should name the field Luke Fickell Field and then a statue. I mean, it's what he has done is unbelievable. And the part that I love the most is he's actually turning jobs down to stay here, because the 2 jobs that I was worried about was Notre Dame and Ohio State. And hats off to Marcus Freeman. I'm so happy for him.
Absolutely.
The coach of Notre Dame. And not just because he didn't take Luke Fickell from us, but Marcus Freeman is a hell of a guy, a hell of a coach. And I think he's going to do a great job there at Notre Dame. It's well-deserved for him. So I'm very happy for him personally. I mean, I don't know him personally, but just as the coach and a man. But for Luke to turn down Michigan State, to not even really take a phone call from Notre Dame because he's like, I'm concentrating on this. That's how important, that's how committed he is to Cincinnati. And not to bang on Brian Kelly and his family down there, but he left. He left, and his team still had a chance, quote unquote, to go to the college football playoffs, and he left. Luke didn't. That's, to me, is the character and the man that Luke Fickell is.
I would agree with you. He's just, first of all, and what you said about Marcus Freeman, spot on. He's a good man, and I think he'll do well there. He learned from Luke Fickell, both football as well as, first of all, he was a good guy to begin with, but Coach Fickell's that way too. He's a family man. He's spiritual. He's religious. He has that focus, and that's what you were just talking about there, Jeff, when this was all circling. He knew that job was out there, but he was not going to take the blinders off to allow it to even enter into what he was trying to do to beat Houston. And it worked out well. I don't think even he would have seen when he's one of the ones that urged Marcus Freeman to leave. Because he knew that he'd have a better shot at getting a head coaching job if he was somewhere else, in LSU or Notre Dame. I don't think Coach Fickell saw this happening, that he would be the head coach at Notre Dame within 1 year. And none of us did. No. But I think Notre Dame made the right choice. He's a great choice. He's a great football mind, and he gets along so great with his players. They love him, and he recruits well. So, I mean, there's not a downside. I mean, now again, if they're sitting at 6-6 next year, that people are going to question why I'm saying that.
Right.
I don't think that's going to happen. I really don't.
Exactly. All right, Jim. Well, it's about 6:20 here. You give me almost an hour. I appreciate all the time you give me. I know you got a gig coming up Friday night. Go ahead and plug that, and then whatever else you want to plug.
Sure. So yeah, I play guitar and sing. Do mostly classic rock, some country. It's a little hard doing it during football season, so I knew that I wouldn't be having a game tomorrow. At least I didn't think so. So I'm playing at MVP Sports Bar and Grill up in Silverton. Right on Plainfield Road, right near the corner of Plainfield and Montgomery. And I'm there from 7 to 10:30. Good food, good drinks, nice people, tons of televisions. There won't be any football on, I don't think, but probably some college hoops and NBA maybe on Friday night. I think that's when they play. So anyway, yeah, come on out. Or if you can't make it, just jump on Facebook, or I'm at www. You don't have to do that anymore. I'm at jimkellymusic.com. So.
Sounds good, man. I look, if my work hours weren't so crazy, I would definitely be there. But I encourage everybody to go there and support you and what you're doing. And like I said, I appreciate you coming on the show. This has been so much fun, and it's just an awesome year. I cannot wait until New Year's Eve. And like I told you off air, I said, if the Bearcats win, I'm not going to Texas, but if they win, I'm going to Indianapolis. I might not be in the stadium. I'd love to be in the stadium, but I don't think I can get tickets. I'm going to be at a bar someplace close. If they win, I'll have my flag, and I'm going to run around that freaking stadium if we win this thing.
Well, that part I know about, running around the stadium. So, yeah, we're 21 days from tomorrow away from the ball game. So, seems like a long way off, but it'll be here before we know it.
Exactly. All right, Jim. Well, I appreciate you.
Thank you, Jeff.
Have a wonderful time. Thanks for coming on.
Appreciate it as always. See you.
Bye-bye. All right, guys. I hope you guys enjoyed that as much as I do. Doggy, where you been at? I see you're in the chat, man. We've been talking college football the whole time. Anyway, like I said, Jim Kelly is a great guy. I'm so happy that he gives me the time to come on my show. If you want to know Bearcat history, it's Jim Kelly. He, like I said, he played there, he coached there, he broadcast there. I mean, his dad played there. I mean, he's Bearcat through and through. He just said his mom went to 76 straight games. So if you want to know anything about the Bearcats, Jim Kelly is your man. So you guys can check him out. So go check him out tomorrow night at MVP. I like to thank the Facebook groups that let me live stream. They are Houday Nation, Houday Legion, Bearcat Ruckus, Bearcat Country, Cincinnati Reds, riding third, heading for home, the Ohio State Bucknuts, the Ice Bar, and then you can follow me on all my social media platforms, all under Sports with Strawberry Ice. I'm on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok. Twitter handle is at Jeff A. Trunapole. TikTok is at Iceman90. If you missed any of the show and you don't want to sit there and watch me for an hour, you can go check out the podcast. I'll be pulling a sign off later on, putting on that. It's on BeanPod, Apple, iTunes, Google, Stitcher Play, Spotify, pretty much wherever you get your podcasts. Please make sure you rate, like, and review. Give me a 5-star review. Leave more leave a comment so more Cincinnati fans can find my podcast. YouTubers, we're down a little bit here. We're at 1,416 subscribers. That's still awesome. Tell your friends, tell your neighbors about sports with Strawberry Ice. So hopefully I can get to 2,000 by the time the Super Bowl rolls around. That would be awesome. I cannot wait. I didn't even get into the crosstown shootout. We got that coming up Saturday night, UC versus Xavier. I reached out to Terry Nelson. I haven't heard back from him. I'm hoping to get him on the show tomorrow so we talk some Bearcat basketball, some crosstown shootout stuff, do some Herb Jones stories. So Terry, if you're out there, hit me up. Hopefully you can come on. If not, it'll just be me and you guys talking some Reds, Bengals, Bearcats. I mean, maybe not Reds because they're locked out. There's not a whole lot going on. But as always, as my boy Jeremy Dimebag D's Nuts likes to say, remember one thing and one thing only, and that is you don't live in Cleveland, you live in Cincinnati. Hooday. And that's just sports, baby. See ya!
Let's go. Stripes, 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 yeah. Stripes, 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 yeah. Stripes, 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 yeah. Orange in the day, black in the night. Stripes in our veins, sparks gonna fly. The beast disobey, orange, black and white. Cause when the jungle come alive, Hooday, we ignite in stripes. Cincinnati, we gon' rise in in the jungle, we unite in dripping orange and black and white. Hooday, when we fight, live and die in these stripes. Wake up the beast, every day is a feast. Time to bust it off the leash. In the jungle, dripping heat. Tigers strut the city streets. East side, stand up. West side, stand up. If you reppin' Hooday, time to put your hands up. Bingo stripes, we in it. New day, new age, yeah, we get it. Cincinnati jungle fitted. Hooday in our house, we win it. Orange and black and white, we build it. Earn our stripes, you know we kill it. Bleed our colors, jungle dripping. Nasty, natty, yeah, we live it. Lit the crowd, get the city loud. Yeah, we feasting now. Fit the pounds, make the city howl. Now we beastin' now. Thunder through the tunnel, from the sideline to the huddle. Stripes we tatted on the jungle when we flex that Hooday muscle on them. Stripes, Cincinnati, we gon' rise in in the jungle, we unite in dripping orange and black and white. Hooday, when we fight, live and die in these stripes. Stripes. Now who gotta move like it on? Stripes. Now who wanna move crossing on? Stripes. Now who wanna move on? If you got stripes, then you let the city know you rock 'em. Yeah, we got 'em. Yeah, we fought 'em. Like that black and orange upon 'em.